Right, I don't want any beef off any of you electricians, but I fitted a Nest doorbell for my mum for a birthday present, and it was an absolute nightmare. I filmed it. Go easy on me. What's up guys, happy Sunday. Thanks for tuning in to my latest video, The Life of a Jobbing Plumber. If you've never seen one before, it's basically jobs from my working week that I think you'll find interesting or that I can pass on a bit of knowledge. Video is sponsored as always by Power Tool Mate and Velocity Pro Gear tool bags. I'll link both their sites on the description of the video, but if you're in the market for a new tool bag or some new power tools, hand tools, check them out. So I've tried to give you a varied mix of smaller jobs this week because of the way my videos have been in the last few weeks. Tend to be bigger jobs, so a little bit of variety. Just a couple of things to mention to you. This week I am going to be going to Newport on Tuesday at the tool fair, so if you want to come and say hello, I'm going to be doing the pipe bending challenge, so you can have a go at that. There'll be some prizes to win. And also I'm going to be at Newport College speaking to the students, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then Sunday next week, I'm doing the Worcester Half Marathon. So if you're doing that, I'll be there. Come and say hello to me, or come and say hello as you run past me, should I say. So that's what I'm doing. And what else have I got coming up? There's obviously Installer Show, and I've got some proper exciting news about Installer Show. So you know that I do the brand ambassador for Lawton Tubes. That's who I go to visit the colleges with. We've got the pipe bending challenge at Installer Show, and I'm going to be on their stand doing that. But I've had some special trucker caps made with a special design on. So if you come and have a go at the pipe bending challenge at Installer Show, and if you get it, I'm going to say if you get it there or thereabouts, you can win a cap. So that's a little sneak preview of what's coming in for that. I'm really looking forward to that. That's in June. So if you've never been to a plumbing show before, Installer Show is the best one. It's my favourite. I go every year. It's on for 3 days, so you can choose which one of the days you go to. But it's going to be massive. And this year, it's at the NEC, so it's a lot easier to get to. Normally they do it in Coventry at the Ricoh Arena. So every boiler manufacturer, pipe manufacturer, all the little things down to clips, flux, solder, tools, anything and everything to do with plumbing and heating, they'll have a stand at the show, and you can meet the people that make the stuff. You can see new products, you can buy stuff, get yourself a deal. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So if you've never been to a show before, definitely recommend it. Yeah, I'm going to shut up now. Hope you enjoyed this week's video. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe to it if you want to. It all helps. Cheers, guys. Right, this job I'm going to show you, it's a boiler fault. It's a Wiesmann boiler, and it's 2 faults on the same boiler spread over about a month. So the initial call out to no heating and hot water, I'll show you first. And then the second time I go, it's a late night call out, and the reason I'm telling you it's a late night call out is because I take a pump out that obviously sounds like it's dead, doesn't work anymore, and I refit it. And I do that because I've gone out late at night, I can't get a new pump, I've not got stock on the van, I'm just trying to stop the leak basically and see if I can get them hot water and heating back on at that night. And then the plan was to go and replace the pump when I could get one. But yeah, it's obviously watching it back now with me editing it, going to a job where I know that the pump sounds like it's on its last legs, going to the trouble of draining it down, taking it out, and then refitting it seems crazy. But I didn't know when I got there what it was going to be. I just was told there was a leak on the boiler. So that's what I did. So yeah, going to show you that now, but I just wanted to say that because I didn't want you to think, why is he refitting that pump? It clearly needs replacing. So boiler fault finding is never straightforward, and I was pretty, I was 99% sure I knew what the problem was with this boiler by the sound of the pump. But it's deceiving. So even though this pump sounds like it's on its last legs and it's struggling to move water around the system, the pump isn't at fault on this call out. So they've got no heating and no hot water, and the boiler's going into an F9 fault. But when I arrived, just listening to it, I thought there's definitely something wrong with the pump. So at this stage, I'm just messing about with it. I'm checking if there's water in there. I mean, the pressure gauge is telling me that there is, but I'm just checking, just gauging what the issue might be. But with it running and sounding like it's about to rattle off the wall, nothing happens. It doesn't try and fire up, and then eventually it will go to its F9 fault. Now again, because I'm so sure that it's the pump, I'm not even looking in the book to see what an F9 fault is. You've probably seen this before, but I keep a link wire on my keys in a Wago. I make a keyring out of it. It's really handy for fault finding. So my first port of call is the flow switch. I'm thinking that's definitely not moving enough to fire the boiler up. If I link this out, the boiler's then going to automatically fire up, because I'm that convinced that it's the pump at this point. So I link that out, power back on, and wait for the boiler to fire up, but it doesn't fire up. It's then when I think, okay, I better check the book. Trying to think back, an F9 fault relates to a fan issue. So what I'm doing here is checking if I've got power to the fan, because that's the most obvious thing to do when you've got a power issue. So multimeter, power back on, have I got power to the fan with a demand? Yeah, 240 volts to the fan, but the fan's not spinning and I'm getting this F9 fault. So basically there, proved that it's the fan. And at this point I did call up Wiesmann, because I don't work on Wiesmanns that often, just to confirm, and they agreed it was the fan. So I ordered a new fan. So to take the whole burner out and then disassemble the fan. And this was the first fan I've ever done on a Wiesmann. And it was quite strange because there were holes to screw this, the gas valve to the fan, but they didn't have any tap-ins in. So although they give you screws to attach it, there was no tap-ins in these holes. So I was just thinking, is it a bad one? Has it come out of the factory? You see I'm marking it up there because I don't want to get the situation of it wrong. Yeah, I'm thinking, is it a dodgy one, if they forgot to put the threads in? But apparently you have to make them yourself, because this fan will fit loads of different boilers. So the orientation of the gas valve can be different, and you have to make your own threads. So it's something I never knew. I had to ring Wiesmann to double check to make sure everything was right. But you can see that they're completely smooth. There's no thread in them at all. So you just have to use the screws they give you, give it a bit of welly, and they'll tap in themselves. But yeah, that was a new one to me. So I put the new fan on, and with a demand, the fan came on, the boiler fired up. Even though that pump that was making such a racket that I was 99% sure needed swapping, still sounded like it was about to die, the boiler worked. I got hot water, I got central heating. So this, with boilers, sometimes it can be one thing, sometimes you can have 2 or 3 things wrong. I just was honest with the landlord. I said, I've done the fan, the boiler's now working, but the pump sounds horrendous. It's going to need swapping at some point. And about 3 weeks later, the boiler worked fine for 3 weeks. I got called back to this very same job because there was a leak on the system, and the leak was coming from that pump. So 3 weeks later, I'm back at this boiler, still working, but it's now developed a leak. And the leak, you can quite clearly see there, is coming from the pump. So I assumed that behind the pump on the hydro block there was going to be a hairline crack or something going on. When I took it off though, everything looked kind of okay. Couldn't really see anything wrong. The washer, although the boiler's about, I guess about 10 years old now, the washer didn't look damaged. It just looked, you know, like I'd expect, and I couldn't see any hairline crack. But saying that, the whole thing was wet through, so to be able to see where it was coming from and to have a better look, I dried it out with my hairdryer, which I do on any type of boiler job where the boiler's got wet or there's water in the casing. So you can see there the washer, it don't look too bad. There's no obvious problems with it. So what I thought was, once I dried it out and seen that there was no hairline fractures and that the pump actually looked all okay, I'd just try and refit it with a bit of grease over that washer. Now, if you've not seen my grease gun before, I love this. It's Dualco grease gun. If you just search on YouTube, you'll find it. And I load that with silicone grease, and then you can just pump it out. But it's good because you can keep it in your kit bags. If you've got like a Vito Pro pack or one of my bags, a Velocity bag, where you have to store the tools upright, it's nice in your bag. and you can use it for any job where you need a bit of silicone grease. So it's you can see my hands going all over the place. I'm not actually getting it where I want it, but that's the Dualco grease gun. So yeah, my plan was replace the washer, put some grease on it, put the pump back on, tighten it in properly, and then just put some pressure back in the system and see, which is what I did. And you can see there it's still absolutely pissing out. So I couldn't see a split in the hydro block. Luckily, I put this on my Instagram, and a guy who fits these, and I can't remember his name, so apologies, he told me that this is a common fault on these. So I ordered a new pump. The new pump came obviously with a new washer. So drain the system down, remove the old pump. Now, if you've never seen the inside of a pump before, I'll quickly show you. You've got the impeller there, and that sits into that pump body, and it's like a coil motor. So the magnetic field is what spins the impeller to move the water around. I'm just gonna drop it out in a sec. You can tell when I'm doing the voiceovers because it doesn't line up with what I'm doing. But I'll just remove the impeller there. So that sits in, and then when that is it an electromagnet, the motor, when that gets energized, it will spin that impeller around, and that's what moves the water. So we've got that, the new seal to go. So nice and easy. It's just a case of removing the flex from this pump. Those nice connections on that, and then wiring the new pump in. There's the old one out. Yeah, I couldn't really see anything wrong with it. So new one in, and then we've got the nice new rubber seal all installed there. Obviously the seal looks a lot better than the old one, but we can see there's no obvious cracks on that housing. So I'm hoping it is, like this guy said to me, just an issue with the pump. So we've got the new pump in, everything bone dry, so I can see if there's any sign of a leak. Just a quick one. This is one of my favourite torches. Let's see if I can remember the model number. It's going to be an IL 175R or 275R. One of the best ones for working in boilers because it's got so many different options on it, and it's nice and thin, magnetic as well. Great to go in your pocket, but also in your, again, in your vertical storage kit bags. These Unilights, I have got a discount code for on Unilight's website themselves, which is PB25. You get 25% off, but you can also get them at Tool Monster using the Monster PB code. So there's the new pump in, bone dry, and then we're just going to put some pressure in the system, and hopefully that won't leak. So opening the filling loop, popping some pressure in, and it was good. I can't explain what was wrong because I didn't think there was anything obviously wrong with the old pump, but yeah, apparently it's a common thing. So that's the system filling. Double check with the torch underneath, and yeah, it's bone dry, so that's good. So now I'm confident we can put the power back on. If you get any water anywhere near a PCB on a boiler, like this boiler was soaking because of where the leak was, blast it out with your hairdryer. There's nothing worse than putting the power back on and blowing a PCB on a boiler because you've not dried it out properly, because that will cost you a lot of money. So on these Wiesmann boilers, when both the temperature dials are in the off position or standby position, you'll see the bar pressure on the reading of the screen. So we've gone up to 1.2 bar there and we've got no leak. And then as soon as you change them to a temperature, then the boiler will display the temperature, and it will obviously run if you've got a demand on. So I'm just checking again there with the boiler running, with the pump spinning, that everything's good. And that's it, another job done. This is one of those jobs. So I'm just here to do the landlord gas safety check, and when I got here the tenant says, oh, the boiler's not working. It's been doing an F fault for the last 4 days. So, right, great, okay. So I started doing it. Took the condense trap out, and this, which has gone brittle because it's probably never been out, snapped off in my hand. So I've had to go and fetch a new one of them. Luckily Plumb Centre just down the road had one in, so that's that. So I've got to fix that now, work out the fault, and then I can finally do my gas certificate. Just while I've got you on that, do my gas certificates as well as, you know, my invoicing, booking my diary in, quotes, everything on Tradify. I'll put a link in the description to the video, but you can have a 14-day free trial on Tradify and also get 50% off for the first 3 months with B Plumber. But yeah, Tradify is great. I use it for everything. So I took this out just to check it, check the gap, check the condition of it because of the F2 fault, and it looks all right. But when I took it out, that's the only bit of gasket that was on there, so it needs replacing. Luckily I keep these as van stock, so I'm going to swap that. I mean, the old one don't look too bad, but it needs the gasket. Okay, so this was a call out to a no heating fault. So they had hot water, just nothing to the radiators. So first thing that tells me is check the 3-port. Now I did advise the chap how to lock this in the manual position over the phone, but as you can see, it's completely open. The motor's doing nothing, so it needs replacing. But I also noticed this, so if you can listen, hear the pump sort of pulsing and there's a banging noise, so we're going to swap the pump as well. So up in the loft, we've got the header tank for the heating system. I've got these, I think they're called drip stoppers, but basically we're just going to bung the tank and bung the vent. What that will stop doing is any water from the tank going into the system and any air getting into the system. So I'm going to do that next. Now the guy, when I came up in the roof, warned me about a mouse problem he's got, and I saw so many mouse traps. Weirdly, he's put chocolate on it. Now, you know me, I'm an animal lover, so I set off every single trap in the roof. There was a lot of dead mice left in the traps. It was horrible up there. So the way the drip stoppers work, if you've not seen them before, we basically push one into the vent pipe there, so now no new air can get into the system. And then one goes into the tank to stop any water getting into the system. And that basically creates an airlock. So we're going to lock the system up, so then we shouldn't have to drain much water out other than what's between the sort of head of the tank and the where I'm working on. So yeah, just with that bunged off, I cracked open the vent and then we've just got a little bit of water. That's the today's tool span. I think I showed you that a few weeks ago. It's about £8. One does 22mm, 15mm knots. So you get a little bit of water out, but not too much. While that's just dripping, it gives me time to have a cup of tea, which the customer kindly brought me. So I grew up on crescent grips and channel lock, which are basically the same thing. And only recently, probably in the last 3 years, did I start using the Nipex Cobras. Now the reason I like the Nipex Cobras for this specific job is because the jaw opens wide enough to undo a pump union, which you can't do with the channel lock or crescent equivalent size 250mm without going up a size. So they're great for that. If you want a set, there's the code on the side, 250mm Nipex Cobras. They'll do pump unions. Get them off Tool Monster and use Monster PB for 10% off. So for those of you that have not seen it before, the inside of a 3-port valve, you see that ball in the middle? When we open the valve manually, the ball just moves position. So I'm going to open that now, and you see it moves to allow water to go through port A. So when it's shut, it only allows water through port B, which is to the hot water, B for bath. And when you open it, it allows the water to go through A to the radiators. And that's just how it works. So I am replacing the nuts and olives on my 3-port. What you'll find, or what I find, is on a 3-port, the olives never seem to be properly bitten into the pipe. So you should be able to just turn them off like this with your grips. And then what I'll normally do to stop myself from damaging the end of the pipe and crimping it, when I get to that stage, just bring the nut to the end and use the nut to pull it off. Then you've got no danger of damaging the end of the pipe. But you can see there it's completely smooth, so that olive's not bitten onto it at all. And I always find that for some reason with 3-ports and 2-ports. So a little tip, you'll notice that I've left the old 3-port and pump wired in and not wired in the new ones, even though I've fitted them. And that's because I like to do the wiring while the system's refilling. Obviously we bung the tanks, there's not a lot to do, but if you drain the system down, then it gives you time to do the wiring while it's filling up, saves you a bit of time. This pump's pumping down, so it's the wrong way up, so just got to quickly swap the head. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it's an urban myth, because I've never had to call a pump manufacturer out, but I heard that if you fit your pump upside down, then it invalidates the warranty. But I don't know if that's true. A lot of these new pumps have de-aeration on them, so I guess that's designed to work with the pump the right way up. So I always turn my pumps the right way up. So now we're ready to refill the system. So back up in the roof, and then all I need to do is remove the bung, and I'll let you listen to what happens when I remove both of these bungs. So you could clearly hear there water going back into the system and air getting back into the system, and now the water level is dropping because it's refilling what we drained out, and the tank's starting to refill. So pop back downstairs, we'll vent that. There shouldn't be much air in that because we're not draining much out. Quick look round for any leaks. Check everything I've worked on, and then while that's refilling, I'm going to tackle the electrics. So if you're not massively confident with electrics, sometimes when you open up these wiring centres, it can be a right dog's dinner. The easiest way to do it is to swap one at a time. So obviously make sure the power's off. And I'm just going to take the earth out from the old valve, then the neutral out, and then as I take each one out, put the new one in. So you can see here, I've worked my way along. There's the old one removed. All I've got left to swap is that grey at the end. So doing them one by one, you reduce any risk of putting the wire into the wrong connector block. So that's the 3-port disconnected, the new one in, the pumps wired in as well. That's nice and easy. It's just obviously reusing the flex, different connector though. And then with full up, power's back on. You can hear that pump's running continuously rather than pulsing as it was before. I've got heat to the hot water, and I've got heat to my radiators, so everything's working as it should do. Another job done. Right, I've never fitted one of these doorbells before. I would normally recommend an electrician do it, but my mum wanted one for her birthday, so I bought her it for her birthday and said that I would fit it for her, and I thought it'd be good for me to have a go. If I can do it and it's easy, then I can offer it as a service to my customers. And it was not easy at all. So you get instructions in the box, but only like what's in the box, and to go online to actually see the instructions. And you don't get instructions that I would like a wiring diagram. You have to watch like videos, and it gives you tutorials and things. So we know what's in the box. You can scan to add the product, which is cool. Like with everything else on Nest, it just adds to the account easily. So that part was easy. But when it came to doing the wiring and getting the instructions, I really struggled. So there we go, it's found the doorbell, and then it asks you loads of different things, and then you can see there, start setup, install the chime connector, install the doorbell. Now the doorbell install was the easy bit. It was getting it to work with the existing chime in the house, because it was like a 1970s Bakelite chime. So you get online, identify which chime you've got. Well, this is what I had. Used to have batteries in it. It's not got batteries in it anymore. You can see the battery marks there. And there's like wires everywhere, and I don't know where anything's coming from. And there used to be a doorbell at the back door as well. So I've got all this to work out. And then we've got a transformer. So my first job was to try and work out what wire did what, which wire was coming from the front doorbell, which was the power coming from the transformer, stuff like that. There's a little vial there of mercury. I didn't really know what that did, what the two wires were doing, but they're all connected. This is the transformer. So you've got 240 volts going in, and that's the isolator switch there, just like a light switch. And then comes out the top, and I pretty soon worked out that it was giving out 12 volts. Now, I can't remember, but I think the Nest needs a minimum of 18 volts, so it wasn't enough. But this is just me trying to work out when you press the doorbell where the power was coming from. So you can see on the transformer we've got 240 going in, that's the isolator to turn it off. And then coming out the top, and this depends on which connections they use, but we've got 12 volts. 12 volts. So we need a bell transformer. And this, if you connect, there's the first one and the last one, it's 24 volts. First one and the second one is 8, the first one and the third is 12. So we're going to be using the 24 volt on this. Swapping that was probably the easiest part of the job. So that's all connected now. Now that's the old doorbell that's coming out, so I took that off, and then I just need to try and work out which wires came from that doorbell, which I think I narrowed it down to these two. And then you get this, I don't even know what it's called. I've not got the instructions with me. I think it's like a Wi-Fi transformer, so this is what talks, the internet talks to it and sends the signal to your device if you've got someone at the door. And this was more trial and error, like trying to fit it and work out the best way of, you sort of get a diagram. I ended up going on Google and just finding diagrams that people had uploaded themselves, and then trying to work out where I needed to sort of bypass and link in series. Safe to say it didn't work first time. I got power onto my doorbell, but I could not get the chime to ring. This white wire I'm putting in now, this was the problem because I've gone wrong with there. But you can see we've got a link wire going from the right hand terminal to the left. Yeah, I got a bit confused, to be fair. So that's how I first wired it up, but I just couldn't get that chime to work. So installing the doorbell, you get a bracket with a sort of spacer on it, so you can angle it the way you want to angle it. So I needed it to look down the steps rather than get on the garage roof to get actual people coming up the steps. So we decided that was the correct angle. And this was kind of the easy bit, just mounting that on the door frame. The obviously you've got cable connectors behind, so that was a bit tight, but that was nice and easy. It's on there, it's nice and secure. You can see the angle of it, the way it's looking down the steps. Then turned the power on, and yeah, luckily I got the wiring right for the power side of it, and it got its power first time. And then it's just a case of linking that up with the app, with their Nest account, and sort of making sure it's all connected to the Wi-Fi. So that was the easy bit. Watch this, this was so funny.
But can you hear me all right?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so instead of me ringing me, you can ring the doorbell, and you can talk to me through the doorbell.
Maybe that. That's hilarious. Okay.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. What time are you ringing later?
Right, so I think I've finally figured out the wiring for this. Okay, ring the bell. Okay, ring the doorbell. Perfect.